We are live with another episode of the Keeg Chats. Today, the Keeg Chats with writer Bryan Hill. Bryan, welcome to the show. Welcome to the Keeg Chats. I'm so honored and happy to have you on the show today to talk about everything that you do, everything that you've written.
Cool. Happy to be here.
Yeah. For anyone out there who doesn't know, the Keeg does a lot of comic talks, talking about different things. We have a show literally called Comic Talk every Thursday, and Miles Morales Spider-Man issue number 1 just came out. And if you're watching us live, you're watching us on youtube.com/The Keeg Show, and you can see not only me, your host, Dimitri Pereira, you could see Bryan Hill, you could see the amazing artwork that accompanies Bryan's writing. But I am super happy and super excited to be talking about this. Miles Morales Spider-Man issue number 1 just came out, and I loved it. And I feel like, you correct me if I'm wrong, you have a very long and storied career with writing and the arts. So the fact that I'm talking about the most recent thing you did, how do you feel about that? You're the Miles Morales Spider-Man guy now.
I mean, I just showed up, right? So I don't really feel like that. I mean, like there've been, Bendis and everybody else on there. I have been working in comics, I guess, a long time,
Yeah.
like just as a technicality, I've been sort of doing that along with other things I've been doing. I'll be honest, I spend so little time thinking about my status and like and all sorts of things.
Mm-hmm.
I just do things that come my way that I think are cool, that I think I'd be good at doing.
Yeah.
And I'm in the lab a lot. Like, I'm shooting a short film soon. I'm trying to get a second feature off of the ground. My first film's still in post. We're wrapping that up. So, I'm writing and doubling a TV thing. I'm just doing so many different things that it's really just about getting the work out there and getting good. But I will say that, like, it's really humbling to work on these big two characters
Yeah.
because they mean so much to people, and it, to have something that you wrote show up in stores around the world is pretty crazy. Like, it's just a crazy thing,
Yeah.
and I never take that for granted. I don't take any reader for granted either. Like, everyone who reads something, whether you like it or you don't like it, I appreciate you, and because how many people out there are good storytellers that never get that opportunity,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's not talent. A lot of people are talented. Some of it's luck, some of it's hard work, I guess. The opportunities come your way, but I never take any of that stuff for granted. So for me, it's always just like, head down, chop wood, carry water.
I like that approach to this because as I was, I got you for the Keeg Chats. I've read Miles Morales Spider-Man. I've read Ultimate Black Panther. Your Blade runs, Midnight Suns that tied into Blood Hunt. You've been writing a lot, and you've been writing a long time. And I kind of went through that, and I was like, you not only like just the breadth of what you're doing, but it seems like it's not just one medium for you, right? It's not just comics. It's so many other things.
Well, I I guess my first love, honestly, is filmmaking. I went to NYU to be to learn filmmaking, and then screenwriting was the first way I started making money, right? So that's what I did for a while, and then I worked in TV. I always loved comics, but I think comics is harder to get into than Hollywood.
Okay.
I do. I think,
Yeah.
like, because if you write a screenplay and it's got a high concept and the structure's there, and people think they can turn it into a marketable film, like, they'll engage it, you
Mm-hmm.
know? With comics, you can write an excellent graphic novel. You can write the entire thing
Mm-hmm.
down to the panel. But there's just not that many publishers, and finding a publisher that wants to embrace a new writer and then, you know, like trying to put a book together yourself. You can kickstart it or whatever it is, but you're still talking about getting tens of thousands of dollars to get, an artist to be able to draw the book and then colorists, then you're getting deliverables. It's really hard, I think, to get a comic book career going.
Mm-hmm.
So, although I was interested in the form, I just kept getting stonewalled until I had done some stuff for Hollywood.
Yeah.
And then I think because I'd sold some screenplays and I was kind of known as like a guy that was working in media, then people started to read it, but I just couldn't get anyone to engage my work when I was trying to get things off the ground for like years.
Mhm.
I would just emails would go nowhere, no meetings would happen. I would submit things and never hear back, like all that stuff.
So would you sum yourself up? I have you down as writer Bryan Hill, right? But you
Yeah.
mentioned storyteller. Is that a better way of summing up who you
Oh, I
are?
mean,
Do you want Renaissance man? Do you
I
how pretentious do we want? Renaissance man,
well, like
Bryan Hill.
no one cared who I was until I put on the mask. So like, I don't care.
Yeah,
Like, like it's. I think you're the thing you're doing. You're the thing that you're doing when you're doing it,
yeah.
right? And so if you're making a movie, you're a director. If you're producing a song, you're a musician. You're
Mhm.
writing a comic book, you're a comic writer. Um, I don't really look at it in those terms. I just like creating stuff.
Yeah.
Like right now I'm working on a coffee table book.
Mhm.
I've been working on it for a long time of just like portraits. I have no idea when this thing gets done, but like when it gets done, it'll be there. Maybe I'll do like a little gallery thing,
Yeah.
and here in LA and put it up and wine and cheese it with people. I have no idea. Does that make me a photographer? I mean, at the point I was taking pictures,
Yeah.
it's not like something I'm like trying to do for Vogue, you know what I mean? I don't know. So like, yeah, I just do a bunch of things. I think it's interesting to create things, and I like what different forms of, for lack of a better word, art, I guess, to not sound pretentious about it, um, teach you about other things you're doing, you
Yeah.
know? So I just like making stuff.
Yeah. I like that. I like that approach because it seems like you wear a lot of hats, right? And so it's whatever path you're on at that time. You're wearing a chef hat. You're a chef. I get that.
Well, it comes from necessity too, brother. Like when you're, because I grew up poor, man. I
Yeah.
grew up in St. Louis, didn't really have a lot. I was a scholarship kid, so I was getting a good education, but I didn't come home to a house with a lot of resources.
Yeah.
Mom did the best she could. Dad died when I was a kid, cancer. And a really good mom, and that was a good support system for me. But like, when you can't afford the thing, you got to figure out how to do it if you
Yeah.
want to do it, you know? And so like writing was something I figured out how to do because I wanted to make movies.
Mhm.
And I didn't know how to write a screenplay. And I had no money to get a screenplay. I had no idea how you would get a screenplay if you didn't write one. So I started trying to teach myself how to do that, right? And then like, you pick up photography because you want to learn how cameras work in case you want to shoot something yourself. And then if you have to do sound design on the thing, well, better start learning sound design. And from that, like I need music on the thing I'm trying to make. Well, I better learn how to make some music, right? So like it's it's more just in that being in that constant mentality of, well, I'm not going to be able to afford the person, so I'm just going to learn it myself. And even though like I'm, I guess, successful now, like however one wants to quantify it,
Mhm.
I still have that mentality of like, if I don't know how to do it, I don't understand it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so I'm kind of like a guy that like I'm only going to have a nice watch salon before I take it apart, try to figure out how it works.
Okay.
I'm that dude.
I see a lot of that similar mindset, like that. A lot of successful people have, right? Is like knowing the different parts of things, even if you're not, maybe you don't want to be an editor, but you have to edit your stuff. So then you learn that in order to produce what you need to
Yeah,
produce,
because
get
no
stuff
one's
done.
gonna believe in you more than you believe in yourself,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like you are always going to believe in yourself more than everyone else, and no one's gonna care more about your work than you do. So in a way, like if I edit my own short film, for instance,
Hmm.
I could hire an editor, and they'd probably be a better editor than me objectively.
Hmm.
But they're not going to chain themselves to the desk for 16 hours straight to get the cuts right.
Yeah.
I am,
Yeah.
right? So it's like I'd rather have an editor who objectively was like a B minus, but you're going to get 125% effort out of that editor than an editor who's like an A that's only going to give you 25% of their skill output.
Right. Right. Because maybe, I mean, yeah, maybe they're working on different projects. Maybe, I mean, just the vicinity to the project is
Totally.
makes all the difference. You mentioned that you started writing young. Did you started writing young in order because of screenplays, or were you writing short stories, or it was really
I
just to do screenplay writing?
Well, you know, like when you're growing up, you can kind of tell if you're a math kid or an English kid.
Yeah.
And I was an English kid,
Yeah.
you know, and so I was I high school sucked. Like everyone was nice. It
Yeah.
wasn't them. It was just when you're poor in a school full of rich kids,
Mm.
and you're also like one of like eight black kids in the whole school,
Yeah.
it just sucks.
Yeah.
You know, and obviously people had it worse. I'm not, look, I went to a very nice school. It's a lovely place and had very good education and I met some very good people there. I'm not besmirching that.
Yeah.
I just mean on a daily social level, you're you're kind of miserable a lot, right?
Yeah.
So the only way that I really felt growing up I was able to communicate with people or find value around there because it wasn't sports. I mean, it was a small school, so I played sports, but I didn't care.
Yeah.
But my dad's dead.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm playing sports, and then everyone else has a dad clapping for them in the stands. I don't. So, like, why am I playing football?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't care about the Super Bowl. I don't care about baseball. I don't share that with my father, right? I didn't have that. So, sports never really I mean, I was fine at it, but like, it was never really a thing for me. But like, I was able to write well and articulate well. And so uh I think when you're feeling like really out of place in a system, either you just become like bitter and just difficult, or you try to find a place where you have like value,
Yeah.
right? And it's probably a little bit of both, but I think more in the second than the former.
Yeah.
And so like writing was just like kind of like thinking like when I was observing people a lot because I didn't feel like I could participate in a lot of things. And so you're learning things about human nature and you're doing, you're kind of absorbing a lot and then you're able to write things that are kind of resonant. So that's like where the relationship started. And then I like movies a lot. And so like I never really thought about being a novelist or
Yeah.
like a short story writer. I think I've written short stories. Use a whole blog with a bunch of short stories on them. But primarily like the main energy that went into writing was either like thinking about writing comics or thinking about writing screenplays.
What movies were really hitting big with you back then, like growing up,
I mean,
that
like everybody
inspired you
likes
to
Star
write?
Wars, right?
Yeah.
Like, like that gets us going. I mean, I was all like, I liked, so when you're growing up in St. Louis, um, your TV is kind of like your window
Mm.
to like different places, different worlds, right? So I was always into sci-fi, horror, action movies.
Yeah.
Like action movies were my sports.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
like I would rather watch a Bruce Lee movie than watch like a football game.
Yeah. That's
You
fair.
know what I mean? Like it's like so like my relationship to athletics was like watching people do stunts. I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
Like I didn't care about who like carried a ball and threw a ball and won
Right.
points, and I never understood the purpose in wearing a shirt with some other man's name on my back.
Yeah.
That always felt weird to me.
Okay.
But I did like action movies and action film athletics and stuff like that. And so I was a martial artist. I'm not very good, but like I studied for a while there and uh like those things. Then as you get older, things get complex. Life gets more complex, and then dramas make more sense.
Yeah.
So I think like by the time I graduated high school, I had a pretty wide variety of taste from like independent films to like big studio things, I
Mm.
guess. So it's sort of like it's like, it's like asking a person like what music do you like? And it's kind of
Yeah.
like, well, depends on the day and the mood.
Yeah. I mean, there are, I'm sure there are film bros out there that just want to do Scarface part 2 and that's it, right? Like it's just it's very,
Scarface is funny because Scarface is one of those movies that everybody loves, but they forget the last 15 minutes. And
um
it's like the last 15 minutes are kind of the point, you
yeah.
know?
I I think it's if you said, how do I put this? If you said Scarface, I would wonder like how you found your way to like superhero comics, right? And
Oh, I mean, I guess like
like how did you find your way to like superhero comics in that
Well,
in
I
that
mean, when
sense?
you're so like when you're a kid, you're not watching Apocalypse Now when you're like 9 years old, right?
Right.
What are you watching? You're watching like Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends,
It's
you
funny you
know?
bring up Apocalypse. There's two Apocalypses that I knew as a kid, and none of them were Apocalypse Now. It was DC
DC,
Planet Apocalypse, right? And then
Apocalypse, and
Apocalypse
then
from X-Men.
X-Men, right? Yeah, like so like when you're like no little kid is born caring about the Criterion collection,
Right.
right? That person does not exist.
Right.
You know, I like the most pretentious filmmaker in the world's child watches cartoons, most likely, right?
Yeah.
So like you grow up with those kind of characters. You're playing with toys. You're into like Transformers and everything else, and then that leads you into comics. And comics were cheaper when I was growing up, so you
Mm.
could go to like 7-Eleven, get a Slurpee and a comic book and like a hot dog for like $3 or something,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So like comics were like one of the first entertainment things you could pick up with your own money.
Mhm.
And now it's a little crazy. Now a comic book costs you lunch.
Yeah.
You know, like it's pretty insane. But it used to be like there were total impulse buys. Like you could just like go into any store and you pick up an issue of Superman, Action Comics, or X-Men, Uncanny, you know, what have you. Issue of Batman. Maybe you get like a Transformers thing,
Yeah.
and you'd have like 5 comics to read, and it'd be dope. And you would, you know, collect them and all of that. So like that's how I got into it. And like the same way we kind of just get into things because when I was growing up, it was easier to like get them.
Yeah.
Like you didn't have to like go to the store and order it before it showed up. Like all this friction that exists between like readers and books, none of that was there when I was a kid.
Yeah.
It was like you go to a comic book store and like people were buying them, but like I was coming up when they were like booming. You know, I'm
Yeah.
coming up like after the Frank Miller boom, and like I'm like a late '80s, early '90s kind of coming into my own sort of vibe.
Yeah.
So like in '89, the world was Batman in '89.
Yeah. It's funny you bring that up because I think that like all the mediums nowadays are never they don't float around you like they used to, right? TV where you could pick up a show never having even known it, but you just flip to a channel and some shows on and suddenly you're watching Three's Company all the time. Versus like comics when I was a kid, like young, they were in grocery stores, but they started phasing them out pretty quick.
Yeah, yeah.
And I remember I picked up a Fantastic Four issue, an old one. It was like early '90s where it was like, yeah, I saw it and I picked it up and I bought it, right? And so I feel like, yeah, comic shops now it's deliberate. Miles Morales Spider-Man, people know him, so people go out of their way to pick him up. Black Panther, anything Ultimate Marvel, right? There's that brand name recognition. Blade, I mean, these are all like really cool characters that you were able to write for that I'm sure not only people were like looking for it, but I'm sure like it created even more interest while you were writing it.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, like the cost plus the difficulties that the mom and pop stores have just being able to figure out what to buy and what not to buy and all that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just hard to like rack everything the
Yeah.
way it used to be.
Yeah.
And like you figure if someone walks into a comic book store with $20, which is not a small amount of money,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Well, comics are like what, like $4.95 a pop now,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
So you got 3 books plus tax,
Right.
right? Because you're not going to get 4 because taxes exist,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So like, if they're $5 a pop and you got a $20 bill, you can get 3 books, and that'll cover your tax, and that'll leave you with some coins in your pocket.
Mm-hmm.
So you figure the average person walking into a comic book store willing to spend $20, well, one of those books is going to be like a Marvel thing, at least, right?
Right.
It's probably going to be a big Marvel character, right? So like if you're lucky and you're not a big Marvel character, maybe you get that last $5.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe
That third pick, let's
that
just
third
say.
pick, right?
Yeah.
Like you're coming in bronze, if you're lucky.
Yeah.
And on a $20 bill, you might not come in at all, right? It might
Right.
be 2 Marvels and a DC or 2 DCs and a Marvel or whatever it is, right? So you might have to find a customer who's either deliberately going in to look for indie stuff or who's spending $40.
Right.
You know what I mean? You know, when they come into the store, right? And then you're in that second pool of money. And so it's a really competitive marketplace that way. And I do worry a little bit about the economics of this stuff. I do, because I feel like entertainment in general, the prices don't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
So a movie ticket in LA is going to cost you around like $16 unless you get the matinee or
Yeah. If you're
you
lucky too, like
yeah, you
16
shuck and
seems,
jive.
yeah.
16, 22,
Yeah.
sometimes you can get through 20, you can be a hot 22 to see a movie, right?
Yeah.
So like you're talking about dropping a $20 bill just for the ticket. You haven't bought a soda, you
Yep.
haven't bought popcorn, you haven't spent money on gas, like you've done nothing. No babysitter if you got kids, just one ticket, like 20 bone,
Yeah.
right? Okay. But then the DVD, if you still do physical media, is gonna cost you like 25 bucks on Amazon when it comes out in like two
Yeah.
months.
Yeah.
It's like you can just wait 2 months and just pick up the DVD. But then you pay $20 a month for the streaming service,
You might as well
and it's
use it.
going to be on that streaming service in 2 months,
Yeah.
right? So like the value proposition, and then comics is on some $5 for 20 pages or so,
Yeah.
which is like, okay, is that the same value proposition as $20 movie ticket? And we haven't even talked about games where you can take 20 bone, go to Steam,
Mm-hmm.
and probably buy a whole lot of things that'll give you about 60 hours of entertainment,
Yeah.
right? Um, so like the numbers on entertainment are all weird.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I just don't think they're all working in concert right now. And I think the value propositions are tough for consumers. That's why I really appreciate anybody who's like buying the books, because you're spending like 5 bone
Yeah.
on a comic book. Like
Yeah.
that's a lot of money.
And not to mention if there's a special book out that week where it's like
Right.
$8.
And that's $8. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, and so like that's that adds up. Like if you get an arc of a thing, it's like 5 issues at like $5 each,
Mm-hmm.
like 20, that's like 25 bucks,
Mm-hmm.
that plus tax, whatever that you're spending on that thing. Well, if you're following a book, yeah, you're spending like what, $100 a year or something like that, like on, could be,
Yeah.
depending on like spin-off things you want to pick up. If there's an annual, you want to grab that. Like, it doesn't sound like a lot of money, but that starts to creep towards that's a cell phone bill.
Yeah.
You know, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it starts to add up a little bit. You know what I'm saying? So like, yeah, I just think that like I appreciate everybody who participates and reads and stuff, and I do think that we need to think about the business behind the business and making things as easy as we can for consumers.
Yeah. I mean, I went to the shop the other day and I picked up issue number 1, but I was trying to find cover A. I mean, it's a cute
Right.
cover, the rubber ducky one, but they were all sold out. All the cover A's. And so I just wanted just a cover A. It was a nice slick cover. But I got the rubber ducky one because I was like, I gotta get something.
Yeah, I mean they have all the variants.
Yeah.
I usually get like a batch mailed to me.
Okay.
If I got a cover A or something, I'll like email me your addy or something. I'll sign one over, send it to you.
I mean, that'd be great. Thank you. I appreciate that. Here's a question for you, because you were bringing up, because when I was younger, again, not having as much money as now, not that I have a lot of money now, but like, I put some money aside for comics. But when I was a kid, I only had money once a month to get like one comic and then Wizard magazine. And that was
Wizard, yep.
if I was lucky, it was Wizard magazine and like Ultimate X-Men back then, like the first Ultimate Marvel X-Men, because that was huge for me when I was a kid. And then maybe Extreme X-Men when it comes out. Like I was a big X-Men guy. As I got older, I realized that my money is better spent if I'm buying trades, right?
Yeah, right.
Because just per issue is just coming in cheaper.
No, because you get the whole story. They'll take you through a flight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A question for you as a writer: how does it affect you if somebody's consuming issues versus trades?
Well, it just means that I think things still need to be satisfied at an issue by issue level, right? Like what you don't want to do is write knowing that a good portion of the audience is going to pick it up as a trade. So if this issue doesn't really have anything happen in it, or you're just kind of like you're moving the pieces around on the board slowly, and that it's not particularly satifying as a single issue read, that's not great. So I think you do need to make sure that every issue is a meal. Even if people are going to kind of wait for the trade and pick it up when it's all collected, right?
Yeah.
That's the only thing I think about. You don't really have to worry about like writing for the trade as much as you want to focus on making sure the single issues still have value.
Yeah. I mean that's good to know. When it comes to I mean let's tackle the nitty-gritty I think of Miles Morales Spider-Man. Because you just started and I know that you can't give things away. But I'm very interested about the approach that you have for writing a character like this. There's so many layers to Miles Morales. There is the idea that he is a Spider-Man, right? There's Peter Parker and there's Miles Morales, and they're both Spider-Man. But Miles Morales has had so many different runs with so many different writers. There's been two cartoon movies so far, but he's also in like Spidey and His Amazing Friends for like little kids and that
Hmm.
sort of thing. A character like Miles, who is one of the few characters, created in the last 15 years that has like really gotten to the cultural zeitgeist. I don't mean to put all the pressure on you, but you also must know that Miles is such an important character. How do you even start tackling a character like this?
Oh, I mean, well, you do know the character is important. You know the character matters to people, right? But it's kind of like anything else. You just got to figure out your way into it, what you would do, right? I think you kind of always want to tell the story for the inner fan. Like if I'm not a fan of a character, or if I can't find that part of myself, I won't engage the
Mm,
character. Um, like I tell people that I'm not great with cosmic stuff. So
fair.
like if you come at
Mm,
me with Green Lanterns,
mm,
I'm just not great with that.
yeah,
I don't get it.
yeah,
Like I appreciate it, but I don't get it.
yeah,
You know what I mean? It's like if you're listening to a musician that you know is a good musician, objectively, they're a good musician, but you don't bob your head, you don't vibe,
yeah.
right? So like how can you do a good job if you don't get it?
Mm,
So when I do, then you're just kind of writing things that you want to see and you're telling a story, kind of at yourself first because you're your first audience, you
mm,
know. Um, and then it just sort of becomes pretty natural and sort of pretty easy. I mean not easy, but like you get into the rhythm fairly quickly,
yeah.
right?
Comparing something like, because it's been a couple years, Blade
Yeah.
previously versus tackling Miles Morales, was was there more or less constraints on you tackling Blade from like a top down approach?
Really? I mean, I've been really lucky. Like, I've never had a bad experience with like editorial on any of the books that I've worked on,
Hmm.
whether it's been smaller companies or larger companies. I've never felt constrained
Hmm.
in any way. I mean, sometimes you have to make an adjustment because there's a big event going on, and so suddenly a character that you wanted to use might be, principal in some big crossover event, and so you got to
Yeah.
figure out somebody else who has that same energy
Mm.
that can tell your story. That's happened a couple times, but I've never really felt like I had like parameters. I mean, with Blade, it was red band, so I was able to
Mm.
do violence if I wanted to and make it a little sexy.
Yeah.
Mm.
Is that different than Blade normally? Like it was just like upping it. Like, do you write it the same way and
I
then just
I mean,
let the artist kind of do decapitated heads?
yeah, I guess like I didn't feel like well, I didn't like, ooh, I'm writing red band, so now I need to like make it torture porn.
Yeah.
It wasn't really that.
Yeah.
I just sort of like wrote the story the way I'd write like an R-rated film.
Okay.
Like if I was going to write and direct a Blade movie, it would be R-rated,
Yeah.
right? So I wrote the script with the same tone that I would write the screenplay were I to write that screenplay.
Hmm.
And I guess that would put it in like the R rating in a comic book, but I guess that lives inside the red band. I think it's a little like kind of weird. I mean, there are
Yeah.
definitely books that aren't red band that are R rated too.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like I
Yeah.
don't really
I've
I think
noticed that. Yeah.
it might be like a marketing vibe. It's just like, hey kids, it's like back in the day when you want the parental advisory sticker on your record,
Yeah.
because that meant your record like had a little edge to it.
Right.
And you remember when like I'm dating myself a little bit,
Yeah.
but it used to be like only like hip hop and heavy metal had those stickers, right?
Right.
But then
And
like
yeah.
pop music got hip to like the kids want the extra. So then like the pop musicians started dropping an F bomb here or saying a thing there just to get that sticker
Mm.
because you didn't want to be the lamo that just like you're buying the music that doesn't have the parental advisory sticker, and your friends got like NWA, Public Enemy, Megadeth, like
Yeah.
whatever it is, and you're walking out with like your little like kind of down the line pop music, feeling sorry for yourself. So I
Yeah.
think it might just be like a little bit of a marketing hook.
I mean I remember when, what was it, Walmart's that wouldn't put,
Hmm.
explicit CDs on their, on their racks and whatnot. Um
Yeah, I mean
I get that.
that's honestly like you kind of. I mean, the companies would feel differently, but as a creative, you kind of want that.
Yeah.
Like, you want someone to be mad at you
A little publicity.
about the thing. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you want the media hit, like, ooh, because the hardest thing in the culture right now isn't actually to create anything.
Hmm.
The hardest thing is to get anyone to care,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
So, like, if you can get people to care enough to write about it, and you care about the work, right? Like everyone's not gonna like everything.
Hmm.
There are people right now who are mad at me because Miles wasn't in the same status relationship he was with the last issue that they read, right? They mad,
With
right?
Starling?
Yeah.
I mean, I
And they
was going to
mad.
tackle this at some point with you, but
And I
yeah.
understand it. Like, and look, I'm one issue in,
Yeah.
and like she's still in the universe, and y'all have no idea what I'm gonna do. So it's
Yeah.
not something that I'm not losing sleep
Yeah.
because I got a story to tell, I got runway. Um, but like people are upset about it, right?
Yeah.
But if I had kept it, there'd be people that would be like, this don't feel any different than, you know what I mean? Like it's like you can't, there's no way. So it's I'm never like worried about like the controversy around the thing. I'm never like courting it.
Yeah.
But the thing you just don't want to be is you just don't want to be obscure.
Right.
So like if a red band thing makes somebody be like, ooh, well, this one's gonna hit a little harder, then I'm gonna go pick it up. I'm like, cool, I just don't ever think you want things that are gratuitous,
Right.
right? Like don't just do gore for the sake of gore, or don't just have some like, sexy thing in there just to have it in there.
Right.
Have it all be intentional. With Blade specifically, I just felt like there were aspects to his character that hadn't been explored
Hmm.
enough. Like as just a guy, and I'm like, this is a guy that's been around a long time, been around the world a long time. Like he's sort of like James Bond in a sense.
Yeah.
Bond's gonna know like the dangerous guy that sells the weapons, but he's also gonna know like the crazy, sexy Argentinian woman who like he might not be able to trust.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, and so Blade just feels like a guy that should have like more people in
Yeah.
his sphere,
More
and
connections. Yeah.
complicated. I like complicated relationships.
Yeah.
I don't like relationships to be like whether it's like a friend relationship, like fraternal, paternal, romantic, whatever it is, because life is complex,
Yeah.
right? And I think when it's too pat, to me it feels false,
Hmm.
And so like when people are talking about Starling, it's like all y'all know is what he is saying
Yeah.
the moment when he's saying it.
Yeah.
Like you have not seen her yet.
Yeah.
You have no idea what their relationship status actually is because you're just going off some voiceover and a couple lines,
Yeah.
right? Like, and how many of our lives have degrees,
Yeah.
and confused, especially at that age,
And it's
you
funny, it's
know?
in the first couple pages he mentions that he's newly single, right? Like
Yeah,
it's the first couple pages. So the fact is that like it's pretty much from the get-go. It's kind of like when and I love my mom. I watch a lot of movies with my mom, but sometimes the opening credits will roll and she'll be like, I'm bored. I'm like, well, okay, it's just the opening credits. It's okay. I think you'll like this movie. Let's continue with it, right?
totally.
You know? So I mean, I believe in you. I was a fan of Starling, but I wasn't upset that they broke up. This is the nature of comics.
Well,
I
it's
mean,
also
it's just
like
kind of how it works.
it's like at his age,
That's true.
your relationship status changes 6 times in 24 hours.
Yeah.
Depending, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and they're both out there living like fast lives. Like you just don't really know. And so I think like I like to reflect the world that I see around me
Mm,
and the people that I know. And you know, it's really kind of hard to pin down and define and the rest of it. Sometimes things we tell ourselves aren't really true for different reasons.
mm.
Sometimes, you know, we explore like like somebody else because of the other thing. You know what I mean? So like I just think that like people Homeboy might be an unreliable narrator
Yeah.
about his own life. Because how
Mhm.
many times in our lives are we unreliable narrators about our own life?
Yeah.
Right? So like yeah, I guess maybe that's like the A24 in me, like the neon in me, you know, just like just kind of shake it up a little bit. You know, I
Yeah.
like to shake the can of soda a little bit, see what happens. But yeah, like this, you know, things will play out and they'll be interesting and I think people will be fun.
I think it's interesting how sometimes longtime comic fans, longtime readers will forget that we're reading comics or what it means to read comics because whenever a character dies, a major character, I just assume they'll be back and hopefully they're going to tell a good story about this character coming back. Eventually they'll come back. My big thing is, are they bringing them back cheaply or are they bringing them back like in a
Right.
meaningful way, right? It's about the story. It's about comics. It's not really the destination that's the thing, right? It's like a journey because it's an ongoing sort of soap opera sort of thing. um when you were doing Miles, like what was something in your head that you were like, I have to do this for Miles? Like I'm going into writing this, like before you even wrote it, did you have like big things, big ideas in your head that you were like, I have to do this, I have to make him open an ice cream shop and have him work there, a little startup business? Like what? Like he's never
Not
he's never sold
really.
ice cream before, I don't
I
know.
guess my thing was I thought that there was a lot of really great work that had come before me, and it was all very big.
Yeah.
Like it was all kind of like away from Spider-Man stuff,
Yeah.
you know, like kind of cosmic, and then you got the vampire joint, and then like the other thing that happening, right? You got vibranium suits that you're wearing and the rest of it, right? You know, although I think the vibranium suit is kind of cool, but
Yeah.
like I just wanted to kind of get back to classic Spider-Man feeling things with Miles
Hmm.
because I felt like I don't have anything to offer to keep it going in that direction. It's almost like the next thing I would have to do is he travels through time.
But you don't want to
You,
do that, right? Does that
no,
fit into cosmic in a way?
no, time travel is a little different. Like
Okay,
cosmic
fair.
to me is like it's like you go to a different planet and then like the people got the togas and they
Yeah.
got the like the gold stat. Like
This is
I
all
don't
Star
even
Trek episodes.
yeah, I don't know what I just that's not I don't that's not my thing. I don't
Yeah.
get it. I don't get it. I don't get it. But yeah, I just felt like to keep trying to take it in that direction would be at what point does it matter if he's actually Spider-Man?
Mm, right.
Right? Like it's suddenly now it's like it could get to a point where well he could be any character in this situation.
Hmm.
You know, like this this has nothing to do with Miles Morales specifically. This could be Nova.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know
you're
what I
right.
mean?
Yeah.
Like what are we doing right now, right? So I felt like especially because in Peter's book, it's very far away right now from like the classic kind of Spider-Man dynamics,
Hmm.
right? Like they're doing interesting things over there,
Yeah.
but like if you just saw like Brand New Day, and I think that's what the new one's called, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
If you just saw like Brand New Day and then you're like, I just want to read some Spider-Man ass Spider-Man. Well, like Peter's book isn't really that now,
Yeah.
because like there's all these things that are happening, right?
Right.
And I'm like, well, Miles is an opportunity to give people like an interesting sort of core to the character experience. And so
Yeah.
that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to root him back in the place where he is. I wanted to put one of my things is I think superheroes save people.
Hmm.
And I think sometimes in our superhero storytelling, it turns into opera,
Yeah.
but then we are no longer part of this story.
Mm.
It's a story of gods fighting gods over godly things,
Yeah.
right? And I think superheroes save us.
Like
That's
in a meta way? Like it
no,
saves.
just a literal way,
Okay.
right? Like part of Spider-Man's task is protecting normal, innocent people from bad things,
Mm.
right? Like Batman protects Gotham not just because he goes after the Bat villains, but like he helps people, he
Yeah.
saves people, right? Like Batman will find the missing child in time.
Yeah.
It's not, it doesn't always have to be, there's Harvey's got two bombs at Second Street on Tuesday,
Yeah.
and I've got to figure that out.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, and
Make your
Superman,
pitch to DC. That's never been done
right, right.
before.
Like Superman saves people, right?
Yeah.
At least ideally, supposed to, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like we get away from that sometimes in our superhero storytelling because it starts to turn into these stories about, you know, a lot of metaphysics and godlike powers and this kind of change, and we're doing multiple worlds and all this other stuff. And that's all really cool, but we aren't part of that anymore.
Yeah.
Like we're just little background drawings in those panels.
Yeah.
And it was really important to me to have Spider-Man be a superhero that's trying to protect people in
Mm-hmm.
his city the best way he knows how. And to not let the human cost of all of the stuff go by the wayside. Make sense?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely get that from this issue. So what I noticed, obviously he's back doing street level things, but something that we talked about on the recent episode of Comic Talk, because that is dedicated to all the comics that come out every single week. So last week was the week this came out. We talked about. I thought it was amazing. You have two stories, right? You have the present day story, and the flashback, and you have two different artists for each of them, right? And
Hmm.
I thought it was amazing that there were two different artists with two different styles telling two different stories. One sort of almost a noir street level crime sort of story with um, Jeff Morales, Jeff Davis. I forget. Um, he's Morales now, right? But he was Davis back then.
Yeah, I
In the
think they're
flashback.
I think they wanted to land on Morales
Yeah.
because there's a real life Jefferson Davis.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Unfortunately, yes.
That comic. They don't want
It is funny. Way to share a name with that guy.
to. Yeah, Morales.
Yeah, yeah. So Jeff has that flashback where he's talking to Nick Fury. They just say Nick Fury, but it is Nick Fury Jr. and whatnot. But that was like a cool story, and it links in with the villain that's been introduced here. So there's like a lot of things going on. How does having two different artists affect like the story that you're telling? Like how does that factor into how you're writing
Oh,
things?
I mean, not really like an art level, more of like a tonal story level,
Uh-huh.
right? Like styles of the right. I was like, well, one of them I want to almost feel like a manga, right? I want to have like the kineticism of almost like a One Punch Man or
Yeah.
something, right? Just like a breezy, fun, kinetic read, right? And then we have these other things, this other section of the story, which starts to have a little more, almost like a kind of a Bendis Daredevil-y
Yeah.
kind of feel, right? Like
Yeah.
like I'm a tremendous fan of Bendis's work on Daredevil and Brubaker's work
Mhm.
on Daredevil, right? Like I think that like those guys were a big influence on me. I'll throw Brian Azzarello in that bunch too, over in the DC side, a lot of his
Yeah.
work. And so like the pace of that story is going to be a little different because you're in almost like a Vertigo comic in their comic book, right?
Yeah.
But then you come out of that and you're kind of in this like, hyperkinetic sort of superhero thing. And that contrast is really interesting to me. So it doesn't really change what I write because of the art. It's more like, well, this is going to pace differently. And I'm going to choose different panels to focus on in this storytelling than I am in this other storytelling.
And no matter what, it's gonna come out like you have to write first, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, okay, and either way, the pieces will come together, and they did for issue number one. We have Lucas Ferreira in the chat saying, "Shout out Bryan, hit it out of the park with issue one. Your vision and approach to this book has me very excited for what's to come."
Oh, appreciate you. Thank you
So,
very much.
thank you, Lucas, for jumping in the chat, and yeah, anyone out there who's watching us, feel free to jump in the chat for the remainder of this episode. Have you been hearing a lot of great things? I know that, anytime somebody's picking up a series, from another run, you're gonna get people who are used to the previous thing, or not sure where the new run's gonna go.
I
But
haven't
how have been
I
people
haven't
been
paid a
treating you?
lot. Well, okay, so like I used to be all up on social media, and it just got ugly over the past couple years.
Yeah,
And so like I used to really love being on Twitter, and I'd have like long conversations with people, and I was getting to know people on there, especially like people that were either like, reading, or they like watched something I'd written,
yeah,
what have you. But the environment just got so nasty there. And then when Homeboy wanted us to pay for what we've been using for free,
yeah.
and it's like, well, I'm not paying you for like a worse experience.
It's because not
You know,
better.
yeah,
Yeah,
like why am I going to pay money to be called a racial slur every month?
yeah,
Like I can get that for free in America.
yeah,
So we don't have to pay for that. You don't have to pay for that, right? Like they'll give
yeah,
it to you in a lot of places, right?
yeah,
So I was like, well, this is kind of a bummer. So because of that, I really don't like get like a lot of daily kind of feedback.
yeah,
I might pop on like comic book roundup or whatever and just kind of see where I'm at with some of the like the reviews and such. But
mm,
like I don't pay a lot of attention. I mean, people have said nice things to me when they can like find me on socials like where I am, and that's been cool. But like yeah, I just kind of focus on the work, dude. You know what I mean? Like it's like because you know what it is. I do pay attention to things that are like consistent criticism,
yeah,
right? So like if people are saying the same thing and I'm hearing that from a lot of places, I will kind of think about it. Doesn't mean I'm going to change course,
yeah,
but it means I will think about it, right?
yeah,
But in general, like praise and criticism is irrelevant to like the task at hand,
yeah,
you know?
yeah,
And either one can be damaging to your balance. So I tend to just like not really engage with it too much unless I just keep hearing the same like preponderance of things, right? Like if it's like, well, this is a common denominator thing that people are saying.
mm,
And sometimes people will say a thing and I just don't think it's accurate. So like I won't pay a lot of attention to it. Like for instance, I did see that there was a little discussion on social media about how I'm opposed to black female characters because
yeah,
of my work, right?
yeah,
And I saw like a few people were chiming in. I don't think that's accurate because American Carnage is a black female character woven into it, and that's wholly original of mine.
mm,
Multiple black female characters in Black Panther,
right,
obviously. Now maybe I didn't do the thing with Storm you wanted me to do, but that doesn't mean I feel a way about black women. It just
yeah,
means I didn't do the thing with Storm you wanted me to do.
yeah,
You know what I mean? And I
yeah,
guess like some of those people dovetail that into the Starling thing, and I hear that, but like I don't think that's accurate, so I don't think I need to adjust to that. But I do think it's interesting that there was a conversation about that because it just gives me insight to how some people, and this could be a small percentage, medium percentage, large percentage, are like taking the work,
yeah,
right? And so, but you don't want to be too reactive to that stuff either, because you don't want to be taken off course. So it's interesting for me to like kind of engage some of the stuff on an intellectual level,
mm,
but I don't like search it out every day, you know.
which is fair. I hear that a lot from creators, just saying that, like, for their own mental health, like, you can't be plugged in like that all the time, if at all, right?
Well,
Sometimes
I think
you
I
gotta
think
take a
for
step
all
back.
of us, bro, like, I don't think social media is good for us.
Yeah,
I don't think the human brain was I don't think our brains evolved to get that many opinions.
yeah,
Like to how many people have ever said, I was in a bad mood and then I opened up social media and then I felt better. Like Said no one ever.
I'm thinking about like very specific situations. Generally, sure, right?
You know,
Especially
and because even if you see
creators
the
versus viewers, there's also a difference there.
totally,
Yeah.
and I think for like even like people, like you might see the kitten video and that makes you laugh, and then the rest of it, then the other thing, and then like the Jordan slides into the bathroom mirror and eats like a hot spicy chicken sandwich, and you
Yeah.
think that's funny,
Yeah.
like you have all of that, but then you're gonna get to like the dude saying the thing that makes you mad, or you're
Yeah.
gonna get to the other thing that rubs you the wrong way, or and so like I just don't think it's a net benefit for us like socially.
Yeah.
And I am a lot happier since I've like kind of sworn off social media, in like a daily or
Yeah.
even like weekly way, right? Like I just think my mood is more stable.
Yeah. Well, I mean, here's another good comment from Just Astro V saying on YouTube. I also really enjoyed the first issue. I'm actually really excited to learn more about Valentina, and the new villain seems really cool. I like his powers.
Oh, cool. Appreciate that. Yeah, it's we live in an international world. And regardless of where the relationship goes or doesn't go, I just think it's interesting to think about Brooklyn Visions and the kind of students they would have there and the different relationships that we have to science around the world, right?
Yeah.
Like, and so like it was interesting to me to have somebody that had a Ukrainian background, and for them, Chernobyl was a thing that directly affected them. It wasn't
Mm.
just a line in a textbook.
Yeah.
And there's a long history in Marvel about dealing with the responsibility of science,
Hmm.
right? I mean, Doomsday is going to be about this in at least some measure,
Right.
right? Like Victor will be brilliant and then have gone astray and what have you and all that.
Yeah.
So it just feels like an interesting thing. And some of these spider characters are also deeply woven into science and the responsibility of science and what happens when science goes wrong and all that. And so I felt like it could be an interesting person to have in his sphere, and also someone that has a native understanding of the kind of emotional severity that he might be dealing with.
Mm. I didn't
That
think about that. Okay. Yeah.
and so like wherever the relationship goes or doesn't go, uh, I thought that could be like she could be an interesting bit of a expansion
Yeah.
of his friend group, at least.
I mentioned on Comic Talk any new character that gets introduced with that sort of spotlight like Valentina, I'm looking at her sideways a little bit. I'm looking at her. Is she gonna be a villain? I don't know. I know you're not gonna say it, but um,
Well, I mean,
either way,
that's
I'm
like
here for the
the
ride.
yeah, I mean, and that's kind of the game that you're playing with these characters, like because people are gonna think that or not think that, and how it all goes, and sometimes you don't even know to be real.
Uh
Like,
huh.
I think a lot of times, you see different possibilities and pathways,
Hmm.
and you're kind of like Stephen Strange, like looking at the Eye of Agamotto, and you're like, okay, you see that dimension where, but then you also see that dimension where, and then that dimension where, and what you land on kind of comes organically as you start, spinning the yarn, as it were. And I don't like fixed characters.
Hmm.
Like I don't like knowing who's going to be bad and who's going to be good when I start.
Yeah.
I like getting there. I mean, you have an antagonist, obviously, but when it comes to like supporting characters and like those kind of arcs, I like getting there organically. I don't like I don't like predestination, I guess.
It's funny you
You
bring
know?
this up because I wanted to ask you about Ultimate Black Panther, and obviously the way this chat works is you could say what you want and not say what you want. But with Ultimate Marvel and Ultimate Black Panther, did you know you were gonna have a set amount of issues, and did you plan that out and then fill in the gaps, or
Yeah,
what
yeah.
was
Like
that like?
I knew I was gonna have a set amount of issues, and I knew I was gonna have like a month pass between issues, and so we kind of knew like what the structure was gonna be.
Mm.
And I did have like an overall kind of narrative thing that I wanted to do there, and so I had like the thematics were kind of all set, and some of the
Yeah.
broad things I want to do with characters, and really with T'Challa, I wanted to destabilize his world more. To me, I feel like a lot of T'Challa stories are like he is a very noble guy who does a very noble thing, and everyone around him can be trusted, and he is the Black Panther, and it just feels like it's on rails,
Mm.
and I wanted to get it off the rails
Yeah.
and deal with kind of the complications of self-isolationism you know, how does that make you responsible for the outside world? I wanted to deal with the competition of belief systems that could exist in Wakanda. I also wanted Wakanda to have secrets from itself.
Yeah.
Like I said this on another podcast. You ever play Assassin's Creed Origins?
No, but I know something about it. But
Like
yeah.
Bayek of Siwa, the one that's set in like ancient Egypt,
Okay.
you
Yeah.
know? I will journey into the Sea of Reeds, you know, like that guy. What I really like about Assassin's Creed Origins
Yeah.
is the Great Pyramids are ancient for Bayek, right? For him in that time, the Great Pyramids are mysteries.
Oh yeah.
And that's awesome, right? That gives you a sense of time and all that. And I felt like Wakanda needed mysteries from Wakanda,
Mm.
right? It needed a sense of ancients and re-examine its relationship to vibranium and what it really is and what it really could be and all this other stuff. So like that was kind of all there from the beginning, because I think we forget how long time is,
Right.
you know, and how long we've had a measure of civilization and how little we know about history.
Right.
You know, like the ginormous gaps we have in our understanding of history.
Right.
That might be a line in the textbook, but it could be thousands of years, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so with that, I kind of knew the runway I was going to have and what I was going to do. And it was, you know, you're working inside of like a Hickman party,
Yeah.
which means be a little bit more intellectual, be a little bit more metaphysical,
Mm.
right? So that I think, you know, to honor who Jonathan Hickman is as a storyteller, I felt like I needed to to move things in more of that direction because that's where he lives a lot.
Yeah. I mean, I loved that whole run. I never knew what was going to happen the next issue. I mean, Storm came around, Killmonger came around. I was like, what are we getting here with Killmonger? What are we getting here with Storm? And then it wrapped
Well,
up.
yeah, like with the month gap between, right?
Mhm.
And so you know you can't like follow up an issue immediately with the next temporal thing.
Yeah.
It's that device was already set when I showed up, and it makes the storytelling interesting, but it also makes it kind of challenging
Yeah.
too, right? Because you can't you're not gonna know immediately like what happens after the cliffhanger. It's like you gotta pick up in the aftermath, and
Yeah.
then it's like the reader's constantly backfilling while they're moving forward.
Yeah.
So like it's an interesting thing, but I think it I know people were a little irritated with some of the pacing, and I think that's a valid criticism. Um, but I do think that it reads well when you like sit down and take it in like big chunks.
Hmm.
And I mean it does the thing that I try to avoid doing, which is like it works better as a trade than other single issues. But
Yeah.
like I do think that in this case, it does because of just the way that that sort of pacing thing goes.
Yeah. I would be remiss if I didn't ask you this question. This is from Drew Maxey, Drew X Deficit online. He's part of Comic Talk crew, and he's also a
X
writer.
Def!
He's also wait, what was that?
X Def!
Is that
I just gave him a thing.
okay? I'm sure he
That's
understands
that's his
because
call out on the mixtape now.
um,
I just gave him a mixtape call out.
he wanted to ask you a question because
Yeah.
he's also from St. Louis.
Uh-oh, from the loo. Then he trouble. He trouble.
he
What you doing from the loo? Get out of here.
he says his question for you. He says ask him if
Mm.
Miles would like toasted ravioli, gooey butter cake, or pork steaks more. Toasted ravioli, gooey butter cake, or pork steaks.
I, I don't I don't really know how much Miles is getting down with that poke.
Okay.
You know, like I think like a little bit, but like I think probably toasted ravioli.
Okay.
Right? Like I think that's a little bit of protein, a little bit of carbohydrate. Have you ever had it, toasted ravioli?
I don't think I've only been to St. Louis once, and I went there to open up a pieology. I was part of the
Oh,
corporate crew, and turns out Drew and I met there years before we actually met. I didn't even know him back then, and we met, and we were like, "Did we meet that one time?" It was like, "Oh,
well,
that's crazy."
toasted ravioli is oftentimes not toasted and rather it's deep fried, so
Okay,
just know
yeah,
that, right?
okay.
Like it's
It
the
sounds great.
toasted, right?
Okay,
Sometimes it's toasted, but sometimes it's deep fried. I think you'd probably get down with that because that's more of like the balance of like carb and protein,
okay,
and you can rock that.
okay.
Like Gooey Butter Cake is like super good.
Yeah.
But I think with his metabolism and how he needs to like kind of keep it going, toasted ravioli is probably more of his jam. But gooey butter cake is super good. That's crazy.
Okay.
Like gooey butter cake is pretty. It's super sweet though.
Okay. It sounds good. Drew also said he says he knows the answer, but ask him what high school he went to because that's a thing we do around here.
I went to Burroughs. Yeah, totally. So like that's the St. Louis thing. So whenever you meet anybody from the Lou, the first question that you're going to ask is where'd you go to high school? So I went to Burroughs.
Okay. Okay.
And he'll know exactly what that means.
Okay.
Like this, like he told Drew that, yeah, he'll know exactly what that means. I came up in U City and I went to Burroughs, and now he knows everything about me.
Okay. All right. All right. Um, I know that we're running out of time, but I wanted to say how awesome it was to talk about all this stuff with you. I'm very excited for obviously like where Miles is gonna go. Are there, as we're closing this up,
Hmm.
are there any sort of teases that you can do or say or allow yourself to say about anything what's to come? You
I
don't have to
think
you don't have to feel pressured, but it's
Oh,
up
it's
to you.
not pressure at all. I think some of the things that people are wondering if I'm going to engage, you're going to see me engage.
Mhm.
I think you're going to see a lot of I think interesting developments with other characters in Miles's sphere, kind of coming up. And hopefully cross my fingers, see if I can use them the way I want to. I'll get to write a villain that I've wanted to write for a very long time, since like the McFarlane days.
Mm.
So, you can look forward to that, I think.
Okay. Okay. I'm starting to get my wheels turning, but okay, we'll speculate later. We'll figure that out. Um thank you, Bryan, so much for coming on this show and talking with me about your your writing, Miles, Black Panther and all that. Before we get going, where can people find you? What do you got coming up? Anything you want to plug?
Oh, I mean, you can find me on like Instagram, it's like Bryan E. Hill. And you can find me on Twitter as Bryan Edward Hill. I'm not on Twitter that much, but like you can find me there.
Mhm.
Um, IG is probably the best place, even though I don't post that much. Sometimes I'll drop something into my stories.
Mhm.
But I don't really do like post there too much anymore. What I am gonna do is I'm gonna start a Substack
Mm.
and then I can create valuable content for people that like want to engage it, and it'll be like free to sign up for it.
Mm.
But I think that's what I'm gonna have to do is just do like a newsletter or something and create interesting things for folks to engage with and build a community that way. And I might even like start up like a little Discord or something, just to kind of curate it all a little bit. But I haven't really been able to do that yet. But that's gonna be coming soon.
Okay. I'm looking forward to it. People want more
Cool.
content, right? Like,
They do, and I like to provide value.
yeah.
It's like I like to. I felt like I would a lot of times I would be able to thread out things that people thought were useful. I
Mhm.
could talk about writing. I could talk about the business of entertainment. I could talk about you know filmmaking or whatever the thing is. And I felt like I was able to give people value and give them feedback that was useful. So I was more of like a thing where it's like, oh well, like let me check Bryan's feed because he might have something interesting to say. And that just gets like lost in the hell sphere that you know like non Tony Stark, like Timu Tony Stark has created, right?
Yeah.
So like in the era of Timu Tony Stark, I'm like, all right, this isn't a best place to do this anymore. So let me figure out like another way. So I'll probably Substack it. And then if I do that, I'll drop it into my Twitter profile header. So you could find me on Twitter like Bryan Edward Hill, and then look at the link, and then you have the link and you click in there and get it.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Looking
Cool.
forward to it. Um,
Right on.
Lucas Ferreira says before we get going, thank you for your time, Bryan. Great having you around, and shout out the Miles CBR forum thread.
Oh, well,
Shout out.
thank you,
Yeah.
Lucas. Appreciate you. And thank you, Miles CBR forum thread.
And yes, Bryan, thank you so much for coming on. For anybody out there who wants to listen to this podcast in full, Obviously, we were doing this live at youtube.com/The Keeg Show, but the podcast, the audio podcast, will be on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, just like any other show that we do here at The Keeg. We got Comic Talk on Thursdays. We do the Keeg Talks, where we talk about movies and TV shows. And then we have the Keeg Chats, like this one, where we talk to amazingly talented people about their craft and about their experiences. So, Bryan, thank you so much for being one of these amazingly talented people out there that I wanted to pick the brain of.
Right on. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody out there, for watching. Thank you, Bryan, for coming on the show. Once again, I am your host, Dimitri Pereira, and this has been the Keeg Chats with writer Bryan Hill. Thank you guys so much. See you guys next time.
Super strong or super fast. Gotta beat the boss and get the loot. Cause it's the King, and we got geek news.